Welcome to People of AIIAS. My name is Ginger Kedding-Weller, and I am the president of AIIAS. And this is the series where we get to hear the wonderful testimonies and stories of our students. Today I'm here with Sanad Lubani. Sanad, tell us about the country you're from and the program that you're in.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ginger, for inviting me to take part in this program. It is a pleasure, and I'm so glad to be here. I am Sanad Lubani, and I come from Malawi. Malawi is a small country in the southern eastern part of Africa, and I'm a PhD candidate here at AIIAS. My concentration is Doctor of Philosophy and Religion, New Testament, and my cognate is Old Testament. At the time, I'm in the process of writing my dissertation, hopefully to finish before this year ends.
Okay, sure. Very good.
Thank you so much.
And it has been wonderful to have you here at AIIAS. I know you're a leader on our campus.
Yes.
Sanad, I'd like you to talk with us a little bit about your testimony from sort of the journey that you took as you came to AIIAS. We often focus on the fact that we prepare leaders, but many of our students who come here already have been experienced in leadership. So tell us about yourself. How did you come to be here? What was the road, the experience?
My road to AIIAS begins at the time when I was a bachelor's student at Malawi Adventist University. Malawi Adventist University has two campuses. Malamulo campus, which deals with the nursing and all these other healthy programs, and then Lakeview campus, which has programs in education, agriculture, and all that. So it was during that particular time that the administration of the other campus spotted me and wanted me to go and be the chaplain, but also the Bible teacher at their campus.
At the health science campus.
At the health sciences campus.
Yes.
Because at the time my wife was also working there, so they thought that they would be killing two birds with one stone if they have both of us on campus, of which I accepted soon after finishing my bachelor's degree. And I was thinking of upgrading myself. And somebody decided to help me with funding to study here at AIIAS. So in the year 2011, I enrolled here for my MDiv. Unfortunately, I just did that for a year and I lost my funding and I could not complete my MDiv. So if you look at my ID number, it shows that I was once a student here, but I was never here. So after that, in the year 2012, I decided to go back to school. And since the conditions of the scholarships, the way they are offered, would not allow me to go to school very soon, I just requested to allow me to study using my own funds, of which they are accepted. So I enrolled at Stellenbosch University, where I did my Master of Theology, MTH, with a major in New Testament.
And Stellenbosch is a university of South Africa.
Yes, one of the universities in South Africa. Okay. And then I graduated in 2014. Soon after graduating, the main campus of Malawi Adventist University developed interest in me again and said, we need somebody with your major because we don't have one on the ground. So they made a call through Malawi Union that I can move from the other campus to Lakeview campus, of which I moved in 2014, and I started working both as a chaplain but also as a lecturer in the theology department. This is the time when I had an exposure to training pastors, and that time Malawi Union had just rolled out a block release program saying all pastors who don't have a bachelor's degree go back to Malawi Adventist University. So it was a classroom of 90 pastors, which I was first exposed to.
90 students in your class?
90 pastors, and most of these students were senior pastors, and some of them were my own pastors. Because mind you, I joined the ministry when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
So these were my own pastors, and it was amazing getting that kind of
So they
experience.
had 2-year degree preparation, and now they were being required to finish their 4-year degree.
Yes.
And you were their teacher as experienced people were coming back to school to get these 2 more years?
Definitely, most of them with their gray hair.
Oh.
It was just a humbling experience. Later on in the year 2015, a year after joining Malawi Adventist University Lakeview campus, that the Vice Chancellor told me that there is an offer of a scholarship, the General Conference SID scholarship for the doctoral, for a doctoral degree. And that offer, when it was given to Malawi Union passed it to Malawi Adventist University. And Malawi Adventist University, in its ADCOM, decided that I should be the beneficiary of the scholarship. And then I began the process of applying and all that. And then December 2016, we arrived at AIIAS, and January 2017, I began attending classes here at AIIAS.
For your PhD?
For my PhD.
So let me say a little bit about that S80 scholarship. It's a generous scholarship to each division from the General Conference. And under that scholarship, one can go either to Andrews University, 1 student from the division, or 3 students can attend to AIIAS or Adventist University of Africa has been added as a possibility now. And so you were their first choice, correct? You didn't even apply, you didn't know about this scholarship, but they chose you. Tell me about the day that you learned about that.
The day I learned about that was quite amazing, because we were sitting in ADCOM. And unfortunately, that day I was so surprised because we were not given the agenda. So I was like, okay, fine, let's see how things are going to happen today. But at close to the end of the meeting, the Vice Chancellor said, Pastor Lubani, go to the chapel and pray. I said, why should I go out? The meeting is not yet over. I said, no, go to the chapel and pray. And then my friend said, no, the Vice Chancellor is telling you to get out. You will not finish the meeting with us. I got out of the meeting, puzzled, wondering what's happening. Is there any disciplinary action they would like to take? What wrong have I done? Fine, I went to my office, prayed about it. It was on a Wednesday, forgot about it. Friday morning, my phone buzzed. The Vice Chancellor was inviting me to his office. And he said, we received a scholarship offer that somebody should go to AIIAS and do a Doctor of Philosophy degree. And the ADCOM voted that you should be the beneficiary. And they actually said that you're taking your family with you. You're not leaving anyone behind. I said, but my wife has another scholarship, because at that time my wife was also doing a master's degree with Loma Linda, an off-campus program domiciled at APIU in Thailand. So they negotiated that, no, we will not withdraw that scholarship. Both of you will go out and you're going to do your education. So it was amazing the way it happened. We didn't apply. The offers just came by the grace of God. Actually, after my master's, I was like, this is okay. I'm still young. I still have a lot of years. Let me sit down and just enjoy myself serving the Lord. But before I even settled after my master's, I was already preparing to leave my country for AIIAS.
And I think the lesson is God doesn't give us much time to sit down and do anything.
You can say that again.
We have to stay busy in the work.
Again, sure.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
You know, it's such an interesting thing to hear God's leading of leaders. You were already in a leadership position and serving on, you told me, 5 ADCOMs, 5 administrative committees.
Yes, in the year, soon after finishing my bachelor's degree, the university had interest in me, as I told you. But the conference was also saying that since they don't have enough pastors who are trained on the ground, they said that they will not allow me to go and join the university. But later on, they reached a compromise. They said, okay, fine. Lubani will be at Malamulo College, where Malamulo Mission is, and there is a church. He'll be pastoring there, but allow us to also use him as a pastor. But on this campus, this is a big mission campus in Malawi. They have a publishing house, they have a high school, they have the college, they have the hospital. So there was no one there to take care of their spiritual agenda or spiritual guidance.
Yeah.
So at that particular time, all of them said, we are adopting you as our spiritual leader. To an extent that later that year they said, no, let's just create a position for you and call you the mission director to provide spiritual oversight for the whole mission campus. It was something else. That time I remember I was just 30.
30 years old,
Yes.
mission director.
Yes, and jumping from the classroom, taking care of spiritual needs of students, visiting patients. You know, this is a 200-bed hospital. Attending ADCOMs at the publishing house, at the secondary school, at the hospital, at the college. Actually, being the church pastor, also chairing the church boards, and I was also the chair of what was known as coordinators committee. This is where all heads of institutions would meet together to talk about the mission, and I was the chairperson of that one. It was burdensome, but it also had some gains, because I remember one time the executive secretary telling me to say, tell me in Malawi Union a pastor who has had the kind of experience and exposure you are having. Fine, it also had some financial gains, because all these institutions had to pay me about 25% of my salary. So I had double or tripled my conference salary. So it was fine, I was gaining experience, it had some financial gains, but it was burdensome at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, but the experience I had that time, sitting in all these ADCOMs and learning from people who also had much experience than me, kind of developed me and gave me a focus of what life should be like and how one can have such positions of influence.
This leads me to my next question, because you come in with a lot of leadership experience.
Yes.
So what could AIIAS do to develop you further? I mean, we are a little institution in the Philippines. You come with a lot of experience. What has been your experience here with leadership development?
Thank you so much for that question. As soon as I arrived at AIIAS, I came with this baggage. So that baggage gave me kind of like a framework, some spectacles on how I can look at things, and also look at how differently things can be done, more especially in a way you are doing things here, and how that can be added to what I had already learned, and go back home and also bring the AIIAS effect to the Malawian society, the church, and wherever the Lord would send me to. So here at AIIAS, I came. After about 4 months, there was the Adventist AIIAS African Theological Association, which is a grouping of AIIAS students who are theology students, and some of them are not even AIIAS students. They do have some topics to discuss, have annual conferences. They also publish a journal. So it was during that conference when I was nominated as the executive secretary, as soon as I had just arrived. It was something which I had never heard, I had never done.
The AIIAS Adventist Theological Association.
Yes, AIIAS African.
African.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes, ATA.
Yes.
ATA. So I was the executive secretary for that year, and then at the end of my first tenure as the secretary, I was nominated as the president. Now it was my time to also do something after being a secretary. And in our year, we did a number of things. We were actually the first students association to publish an edited book in honor of Dr. Gaptil.
The previous president.
The previous president of
Yes.
AIIAS. Yes, it was an amazing experience. That year we published our 2 journals. It was the first time that I negotiated with AIIAS administration to allow us to have our own website. We made sure that all our journals and all our presentations are uploaded online. People can access them, just to make sure that we have a global visibility apart from being just an AIIAS association. So to me, that is a worthy back of leadership and something new which I have learned, and I am taking it with me to Malawi.
So an academic approach that
Yes.
you had not had experience with before. I want to ask a question that some of our listeners might have. Why specifically an African Theological Association at AIIAS?
There is a good number of AIIAS, African students at AIIAS, and these people are being trained at a very higher level. And AIIAS, Africa has unique problems theologically and spiritually, which also need an African approach.
I see.
And we consider ourselves who are being trained here as theological consultants who can go out there, try to provide a solution to these spiritual problems, to these theological questions, which are kind of contextualized in Africa. So to me, I find that AATA has provided for us a very good forum, exposing us on how we can do research in theological area, focusing on African problems to provide answers for our different spiritual and theological problems.
I see.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, and the other lesson, leadership lesson, is the exposure of being a leader as the SA president, Student Association president. I was a president here in the year 2019 and 2019 to 2020. And it was leadership at multicultural or cross-cultural level. Leading a group of about 8 officers, and at the same time, the whole student population of about people from
60 different countries. Yes.
That was amazing and mind-blowing. That was when I would sit there chairing the committee, and I, Lubani from Africa, would test my ideas, and I would see them being bought. Actually, during that particular time, we also added one wing of SA, which is now known as AIIAS Missionary Association. It was born during the time of my leadership. Because we were saying we need to be kind of relevant to the community around us, and not just becoming an exclusive institution, an exclusive students' body, but let's bring a positive effect to the community. How can we reach out? It was hard to influence or to request the administration to accept that we can go that direction, taking money which students contribute, and then make it into use outside the campus. I had to be tossed back and forth so that it should come into effect. And it happened. And I'm so glad that a number of mission trips have happened successfully, and now this wing is established. It gives me a lot of joy.
Yes.
And one other lesson which I can also talk about is how graduate education should be administered. When I was the SA president, I had an exposure, that contact, that closeness with the vice president for students affairs, vice president of academic affairs, but also the president himself. And I remember that the president that time, when he learned that I'm coming from this kind of a background, he invested a lot of interest in me. I remember him talking to me about investment funds, endowment funds, how they can be used to better the institution, but also to better the life of a student in a sustainable way. I learned wonderful things when I sat in, say, for example, scholarship committees as a student representative. I remember one time there was a tie, an African student and a student from South America, both of them in dire need of a scholarship, but AIIAS would only have managed to pick one onto the list. They looked at the issue. The other one, his GPA was also plummeting. The other one also was in need. But I kind of had information about how the other student can be assisted, the one from Africa, and I had to make a tough decision to support the student from South America, because I knew that if he's not going to be supported, he's going to leave the campus. That's when I learned something very, very important, which I would like you as our president to take it, that I knew that he had been here, that student, for about 3 years, and he was about to leave. And I remembered the words of Jesus, praying in John chapter 17 that I haven't lost even one. And I told myself, this one will not go. He will finish no matter what. His GPA fine is falling and he doesn't have funds, but he needs help. He should go back after finishing. No time, no money should be lost. Yes. So when we sat that day, they said, no, let's ask from the student representative. Then that time I knew that whoever is going to get the scholarship, it will be simply because I have endorsed it. Then I threw my weight on this particular student. I'm so glad he finished and he left. So these are the things which I've learned, how the seminary can be administered, the processes, how the departments are organized, the whole process of seeing a student from registering up to the end. This is the whole bulk of experience I am carrying with me.
What I'm hearing in the story that you just related is how to make objective decisions.
Yes.
Rather than for a compadre, but what is the objective here?
Definitely.
And principled decision making.
Yes, definitely so.
Now, you also said something to me about structure. So talk about that. Leadership and learning about structure and process.
Yeah, concerning structure and process, I came from a theology department which was very small, just the three of us. One a New Testament, an Old Testament major, New Testament major, and the other one was a systematic theology major. So it was just basically the three of us. So it was just us.
Yeah.
The three of us would sit, make a decision. That's all.
Yeah.
And these are
Very
undergraduate students. But here I came to AIIAS. I found the whole seminary with different departments, applied theology, biblical studies, and then systematic and the other programs which are there, the dean of the seminary, and then we have the assistant dean, and all these departments have heads. And there are different committees there which make decisions at different times up until they get to the administration office. That one is also a very important lesson to me, more especially that Malawi Adventist University now, since it has been there for about 15 years and we have graduated hundreds every year, this bulk of students which are now in the industry, they're not coming back to us and say, hey, when are you starting master's degree programs? And actually that's where now the university is moving towards.
Needs to grow.
To grow.
Yeah.
And how can we do that? So AIIAS has given me an idea about structure, about process, how things should be done. There are things which no one has talked to me about. But as I move up and down, as I knock on doors, looking for assistance myself as a student, I am learning how things should be done, how a student should be handled and be helped up until they graduate and become profitable in the society. Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your dream as you go back. You have some dreams for pastoral development.
That dream is still burning in my heart. I see pastors graduating. I was in the university system at Malawi Adventist University for about 6 years. And I would see pastors graduating each and every year. They go to the district and they vanish. They just become district pastors. They're satisfied that they have a bachelor's degree and it ends there. But here when I came and I had this exposure of, continuing education, research, publication, and how somebody can be helped even from the grassroots, being helped to say, no, you can do your own research at your level and then publish it and respond, address certain theological problems in your own context. So when I looked at this, I said, no, I think this is something which I should carry to Malawi. So in Malawi, there is a WhatsApp group for Malawi Union, pastors, and I'm a member of that group. So I began to talk to them about this. They bought the idea, and I said, since in this group we are just chatting,
Social group.
Let's create a different group. It should be known Malawi Adventist Theology. There, we will be discussing our own issues which are happening and how we can respond to them theologically, helping one another. And if possible, we can organize ourselves into Adventist Theological Society of Malawi, meet annually, present our own papers here, form an international review board, scholars reviewing our articles, publishing them, so that we can better serve the Malawian community other than just hiding in your own corner, in your own district, and you're even failing to address some other issues. So this is something which I'm taking back passionately, and I want to see it happening, and when you should hear it, you should know that something is happening.
I will know that Lubani has been busy. Very good.
Sure.
Sanad, we are so glad you're here. We wish you God's greatest blessings as you're finishing your writing, that it may go smoothly and well. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and I wish you well in your leadership, and may God bless you. May God bless AIIAS. Thank you.